Just wanted to catch you out.
I wasn't saying anything.
He was saying how he looked fucking hot and he looked hi guys.
Lockdown one.
Hi. It's good. It's soon shot. Looks fresh. Looks fresh, bitch. Hi guys. So we wanted to do a video. Instead of tea and wine, it's like coffee
and banana milkshake.
But we're still gonna call it
Bitch
tea and
needs
wine.
to give like the kidneys a rest, and we're gonna start having psoriasis. So
Psoriasis of the
no
liver.
drink today. I'm having a tea day. Like, well, milkshake.
She's having a detox. She's got the shakes.
Doing detox and having a milkshake. Go on, potassium.
So when we was doing our workshop, one of my friends actually asked us what led us up to this path. I have actually done a video similar to this before on my own channel. So if you are on my channel, you can check that out. It's, God, I don't know when I've done it.
God, it would have been at least a century, wouldn't it? It's about the days when you had it filming in the shed, wasn't it?
Oh, you shady bitch. So yeah, aside from me filming inside my shed, we're gonna talk about. Shut up. Look at the maliciousness in this bitch's eyes, the vindictiveness. So we're going to talk about today how our practice got up until this point. So I think we'll just go from the cradle.
From the cradle to the grave. I've got that book actually. It's a really good book.
So yeah, all right. I mean, you're asking me to talk about myself as a Leo, I couldn't possibly. So anyway, when I was a kid, and I've said this in my last video, I actually used one of my earliest memories was actually waking up with a room full of people, not because they were studying me, because I was such a fucking freak.
Look at cool.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I actually remember waking up with a room full of people, and these people were spirits, and I was actually terrified. Like, I could remember being incredibly terrified. The feeling of fear that used to come over me when I was only a kid, like, it was terrifying. Even my best friend Reese lived next door to me when we lived on the council estate in London. And I used to when he used to stay over, I used to tell him like all the people that were in the room. He used to go, to my mum. And my mum had to pass him over the fence to Kelly, and he'd go, and I'd just be sat there.
George has been a freak.
Honestly, I'd be sat there like a fucking kid from The Sixth Sense, like, we're all dead up here.
In an Essex sort of way.
Yeah. But so yeah, that was one of the things for me. I was incredibly and always fascinated with witches and witchcraft. That was something that was always prominent. The idea of the witch, the aesthetic of the witch and the wizard was something I was so into, like, so much so that my cousin made me a cape. I used to walk around this council estate in East London with like black bin bags. That was only 2 weeks ago.
Oh. No, I mean, guys, when we used to go guys, that's what we did.
Oh yeah.
Your mum would make.
Yeah, working class Halloween was mint. I was a mummy once. I came in bandages and tomato ketchup.
Oh, the pound stores were brilliant. They were selling out of bin
yeah, I went as a mummy for Halloween once. I had to have like bandages and tomato ketchup.
Oh, you're lucky. I would have just used bug glue on my mum. With a bit of PVA glue.
But one of the things I was always obsessed with was witches. I love the image of the witch on a lot of fantasy films. There were anything to do with witchcraft, I was obsessed about. Like, my cousin made me a cape. I always used to ask my mum to get me a witch's hat. I loved Hocus Pocus. I know the fucking script at this point. Me and my other brother used to watch it. So being a kid, like, witchcraft was just always in my life. And I'm gonna sound like that Lana Del Rey song, right? It's like, I was always different from other girls.
I was always an unusual girl.
Yeah, my mother called me a chameleon, so
just right.
But I always felt different. I didn't really want to fit in. Nothing's fucking changed. I didn't want to fit in. I felt completely isolated from most people, if I'm honest with you. I would quite often go off and speak to spirits, and I remember very vividly having conversations with spirits and frightening. Like one of my cousins was like, he came up to my room once. He was like, "Who are you playing?" I was playing chess. I don't know why I had a chessboard at like age 5, but like the most intellectual 5-year-old. But like he was like,
"You game of chess?"
Yeah,
crochet.
Checkmate. Like that meme of the Queen, where it says she can move in any direction.
Don't.
But property. But yeah, like he walked up and he was like, "Who are you playing chess with?" And I was like, "Liz." No, he was like, "Who are you playing?"
Oh God.
He was like, "Who are you playing chess with?" And I was like, "The lady in red. She's just jumped out the window." And apparently he was like, "Fuck that," and like ran downstairs. But I used to freak people out all the time. But even being a child, like witchcraft played a really prominent part in my life.
Same for me, like, and I think, like, we were talking about this, weren't we, earlier? And I think there's for a lot of people that we speak to that are into like witches, magicians, whatever, that work magic. Like, there's a similar pattern that when since a young age, there's that obsession with witches and wizards and watching programs, and just I think it's at a young age when you feel like you're different and you'll feel like you somehow relate to that, but in our mind, like when we're young, it's not really matured enough to connect these dots. And it's kind of like and then you grow up, and as you go through maturity, puberty, our brain starts to change, and we're allowed to like sort of understand these feelings and why we are attracted to witches and wizards and magic and all these. I used to love Merlin. Like, I've watched every sort of Merlin film that is since I was young, and I used to hound my dad, and he'd get his TV guide and he'd be like, "Oh, 10 o'clock, like, 6 o'clock today, there's a Merlin one." I'm like, "Which one?" It's like Merlin Return. I'm like, "Yes." But I never used to like Merlin's Apprentice. That was really shit and cheesy. But again, it's like, I suppose it's like, when you see children at a young age and they're obsessed with cars or trains, and they end up growing up being mechanics or working in car dealerships. And I think when it comes to us as practitioners, it's pretty much the same. Like, we know we are born that way. We are born like an artist is born to draw. Like, at a young age, they start drawing and being fascinated with crafts and arts and crafts. I myself do arts and crafts. And I think you're pretty much dealt that card from the moment you're born.
It's who you are.
Yeah, it's who you are.
You can't change it. It's who you are.
And that's why I think when we're a young age, we recognise that. But yeah, so like my story is like, when I was young, I was just obsessed with Merlin films. I used to have this, like, I showed you, didn't I, the picture? I was like a wee fatty kid, and I was a bit unusual, a bit odd. I never really had friends. Well, still I'm a fucking weirdo with a Y. And I never really associated to a crowd as such. Like, I had friends in different crowds, so I was a bit of a social butterfly, a bit of a floater. And I always wore this t-shirt that was my fucking favourite, and I saw it at a car boot sale when I think I must have been about 8 years old.
Pardon me.
And I nagged my mum to buy it me. It didn't even fit me. I think it was like 2 sizes up, but I wanted this t-shirt. It had a picture of Merlin. I'll see if I can find a picture and post that, but it had a picture of Merlin with a dragon fire, Merlin like chanting from the book, obviously being protected by this dragon, and I loved it. I got to the point where I would nag my mum, or I would get in a hissy fit if that wasn't washed, like, by the weekend. Because
still got like that now with certain t-shirts.
I do. I'm like, "Where's that? I haven't washed it."
Like, Ash, we're locked down. We're not going anywhere.
Oh, I do have my favourite t-shirt. So another thing that's not really changed. But yeah, so I'll pass you on to your teenage years. So
2 words, fucked. So when I was about 11, I actually realised that there was people that were witches. I realised that magic and magical practice was a thing that existed. I actually remember it really vividly because I think when I was about 9, no 10, my mum was like, "Okay, George, you can't keep running around like a witch's hat and a black
Yeah.
bin bag. Like
It's time to grow
it's
up
time
now.
to grow up with it," which like proper gutted me. Um, but I remember I was round my uncle's partner at the time, and we was chatting, and my brother Jack was like, "Oh, I'm being a witch," because he's younger than me, and I was
Mhm.
like, "No, witches aren't real." And then Claire, my uncle's partner at the time, she was like, "Witches are real," and I was like,
Mm.
"What?" She was like,
Oh, it's
"Yeah."
that light bulb
Yeah,
effect.
but
It's
she
like,
was, I mean,
what?
she used the term white witches. She was like, white witches, she's like, they use herbs to heal people. She's like, yeah, they're real. And my mum was like, yeah, George, white witches are real. And I was like, what? And then we went to like, when I went to see my dad, I used to see my dad every Sunday. Um, we went to this bookshop and he was like, oh, do you want to, it was quite funny. He was like, do you want to see if there's any books on witchcraft? And I was like, no, I'm too old for that. And it was like, okay, fair enough. I'm walking around looking at these books because I've always loved to read.
Mm.
And he pulled out this book and he was like, George, he was like, look. And it was like this black book. It looked like the book from Buffy. And it had like, you know that any book from Buffy is
Start,
like black and says
start
like
seeing
witch crave on it.
with like
But
gothic letters.
yeah, like, and it said witchcraft. And I was like, I'm having it. And then we got to the till. And my dad looked at me and he was like, grown out of it, have you? And started laughing. And
Oh,
then that was it. Like I was on like the internet all the time. I found out that I first
oh,
came across like
spellsandmagic.com.
spells and magic,
I think it's still up as well, but that was like
Kazuzu or something like that.
Kazuzu,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
But that
like
was before the days where like they were doing films about Kazuzu. Like,
I actually used to go to another website called Force. Nearly said that
what's game?
wrong. Foreskin.com. No,
You
I
wish
used
it again, yeah.
so I used to go to this website called Four Spells,
Force that? No, I can't
and it was
remember.
about like Wicca and stuff. And I used to go to it all the time.
I used to go on like a lot of Google groups, and you'd always see like the emotions of like the pentacle, and it would turn.
Yeah, I actually built my own website for like
Me
teenage
too.
witches.
And it
Like,
had a turning pentacle. Like the graphics were so 90s. Like,
yeah. Do you remember the witch crows as well? Like everyone in school was like, at one point like had like Marina Baker spells for teenage witches. And it was
yeah.
like just like that on the witch.
Oh,
And I used to be like, I thought you was a
or
Protestant.
Titania. Like,
So
see,
they used to be like, oh, I'm a witch. And I was like, I thought you was like some mad church going Protestant about a week
you
ago.
know,
How did this switch up, Lucy?
oh, or like
um,
I used to collect Titania. She used to have like beautiful like velvet books, and the one on love, one called Enchanted, one called Hocus Pocus. And I remember seeing her because every Valentine's Day or Halloween, she would be on the this was it called the This Morning Show back then? I
yeah.
can't remember. Some kind of morning show, and she would tell like people how to do simple spells for love or what to do on Halloween and stuff. And I remember seeing that. But when I first found out about magic and when it was real and that light bulb moment, I was actually watching Midsummer's Murders with my mum because my mum and dad love that. They love
I
they
do
love
like a
the
Midsummer
Murder She
Murder.
Wrote and
I
stuff.
do, I do like a Midsummer
Oh no!
Murder.
Oh, that do 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 do
Yeah, and
do
you know
do
at
do.
the end it's like,
Yeah, yeah, that's it. So yeah, there was an episode where there was killings going on in the village, and there was expect that it was a cult, and they found out that these witches and stuff doing it. And I turned to my mom, and I was like, "Hang on, like, do witches exist? Because like I know this is a TV
you
program, but
said that really American. Like, do witches
does
exist?
witches really exist? Like, oh my god!" But yeah, I was like, are these real? I know this is a TV service, but it's supposed to portray sort of kind of real life. And my mum was like, yeah, like as far as I know, I don't know much about them because my gran would always see witches as something quite demonic, and the traditional sense of that. And I was like obsessed, and I was like, I need to like, and I'm dyslexic as well, so like I was like, what do I do? Like, the only way I know is like through books. So my mum, who is like from a Catholic background, and at the time she didn't really agree with it. but she bought me this wee book, and it was the most simplest book you could read, even for me, who was a really heavily dyslexic then, on Wicca. And I wish I could find it because it was so cute, and the drawings, the crystals, and I was just thought this was magic. Like this is the ultimate book. And that was my first book.
Which is like, this is the only book.
Oh, and like I'll show you my second oldest book, and gonna excuse me, it's rags, like it's falling apart.
Just casually popping up into the background.
Oh, but this was like, look, it's not even got the sleeve, it's falling apart, but it's a illustrated guide to witchcraft by Graham Whaley. Wiley, yeah.
Willie?
We'll just say that. Wiley. And it's all just like artifacts based on the Museum of Witchcraft. Like, and I just love that. So after seeing Wicca, I was like, wow, this is sort of this is the stuff I'm looking for.
This is the juice.
Oh, so yeah, and then from there, Llewellyn books like Teen Witch and
oh yeah. Teen Witch.
You know, How to Stir a Magic
Teen Witch,
Cauldron. Yeah, the Teen Witch.
Oh, that rusted.
Yeah, it rusted. I had that, and I think I've got pictures in my Facebook me wearing it.
You know the bell that you got?
Oh yeah, with
actually
the gold cord.
I wore it on like my bracelet at the time in school. These people, like my friends I was hanging out with, used to call me Daisy the cat. I used to ring like a cat.
I think I used to hang it from my neck. And my mum would take the piss because when she was in the 60s, it was fashionable to wear a cowbell.
Really?
Yeah, it was
oh shit, yeah, no, I think I've seen
so
that.
she was like, I used to do that, but it was a cowbell. It was really fashionable. I don't know why you would do that, but it's the 60s. Hey, everyone was...
Anything.
I
love how we chat.
I remember like getting pissed off because then the soul that comes with it, I ran out of it because like a lot of the spells that came in the book, you'd have to use the soul a lot, like do that circle and whatever. And I was pissed off because like my mum was like, "Well, just get some more soul." I was like, "You don't understand, Mum. This is magical soul." And being that mind, like you think that you have to obtain these magical objects from like occult stores and behind back alley like bookshops and like.
So I actually met my cousin when I was 13, who was also a witch.
Oh.
I like my second cousin. She's probably watching now. If you're watching, love you, Susie. And she actually took me to my first pagan festival when I was like 14.
Oh.
And they was all into traditional witchcraft. And at the time, I was like, I'm Wiccan, even though I'd like never been initiated in Wicca.
Oh.
I wasn't Gardnerian or Alexandrian at all.
But it was the thing. I was again. It was because of Llewellyn, isn't it?
Yeah. So. And I remember like going to these festivals. I actually met my first boyfriend there when I was like 14. It's really cringy. But yeah, like I remember, you know, we had like little groups as well that like me and circles of friends would practice in like a coven and stuff like that. Like, you know, the thing from like The Craft when like they'd get like the chalice of wine with like the blood and put the blood in and then you'd like all drink the cup.
Oh yeah.
I've done that. But actually when I was about 16, I actually I felt like I needed more.
Yeah.
I felt like I needed more in terms of just Wicca. I actually found myself looking into Afro-diasporic practice, so Morley voodoo. New Orleans voodoo at the time was something I was looking into, and hoodoo as well. So the, you know, African American root work, conjure, and that was something that I actually was looking into. I actually completely went away from Wicca. I did touch some things on traditional witchcraft when I was younger, but if I'm honest with you, I didn't fully get what I was doing. Like, I was like, what is a compass round? Like, I didn't fully understand, but I'd done it anyway. But when I was like 16, I actually looked into voodoo and I got like the most awful books on like voodoo that like it wasn't voodoo. What I was practicing was not voodoo.
It's in the years of like when freaking Scott Cunningham was doing like, you know, Scottish witchcraft.
Yeah, what I was practicing was not voodoo.
It was the age of Troy.
Yeah, like I was, if anything, I'd say I was actually practicing more hoodoo, but for me, I yearned for folk magic more. I actually desired folk magic more. It was something that I really I wanted more than just ritualized structure. I actually wanted operated magic, and I found that hoodoo really done that. But when I was 16, I went through a really rough patch for like learning, development, just who I was. Like I had a fucking really bad time actually. It was,
Oh,
16 to 18 was like,
I went off the rails.
yeah, absolutely. Like so
I'm not gonna
violent.
say because probably some of my family members
Yeah,
will be
yeah,
watching this.
yeah.
So yeah, like I had a colourful team.
It's very colourful.
Very
Like, you know, like a muddy, shitty colour.
like scene colours.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah.
I actually went to study in ballet school when I was 18 to 21. If
I moved to
anyone's,
London when I was 18, my first boyfriend.
but
I never moved away. Like it was the first time I moved away, and I moved to London.
I actually
Lived there
stopped.
2.5 years.
I actually stopped practicing magic for about a year because I was in ballet school.
Oh,
And I actually felt like all my focus needed to be on that. So I think that is that. I think it was like,
well, it's tough, isn't it?
yeah,
Being
well,
kind of, like,
I
dancing
kind of
school.
made this decision that I wasn't going to practice magic. And it was funny because within it wasn't for a year. I moved there and I was like, Sandra Bullock, she's like, and as for you, my children will never learn magic. And I was like, I'm not gonna carry on practicing magic because I need to focus on being a ballet dancer.
And life does that
And-
sometimes as well. Like we are, I think
Yeah,
we
like,
all can admit
it wasn't
that
like
we
I-
take wee breaks.
It
in our
wasn't like
practice.
I'm never going to do this again because I knew it was like a part of what I did. But it just got to the point where I was like, this isn't. I
You
need
just
to
take a
focus
back
more.
seat with it. Like,
Within 3 months, I found out there was an occult shop in Manchester, and I was like, "See ya!" Like, literally just went to this occult shop, and yeah,
was that
started.
athletes?
No, it was New Aeon on Oldham Street.
Yes,
It was really well
known. By the opposite the Oxfam.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Well,
remember
up
that.
from the Oxfam.
Yeah, that was a good
It was in
cult
Manchester.
shop.
Yeah,
That was a
like
good
it was
one.
really cool, and that's where I met some friends. I actually got involved with Haitian voodoo that was actually run by a Hungan. So I was actually at that point practicing, actually following the religion of Haitian voodoo, and that was something that I'd done for about 5 years in total, from like I'd say 19 to like 24.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was like, like voodoo is a beautiful religion. And, we met people from different societes. So societes are like groups, religious groups, because voodoo is a religion. And yeah, that was amazing actually. But I actually always knew that voodoo as a religion wasn't for me. It wasn't something that was meant for me. So yeah, that was always in the back of my head, and I always knew
The
that.
spirits take you to where you need to go.
Yeah,
Like stepping stones.
yeah, and during that time, I like practiced a lot more hoodoo, a lot more conjure and root work, and that was something that I really got into. So I'm going to stop talking about myself at this point because I am a Leo with a Leo moon. So
And I'm a Leo rising, so I'll be a rise to the occasion.
double the consciousness.
I'm a Libra with.
So go on, 18.
Yeah.
18
Well,
onwards.
no, I'll start. So I first got into Wicca when I was, Wicca. I wasn't initiated in traditional Wicca. It was that kind of mainstream tribe that they were giving out in the wedding books at the time. Kind of Wicca when I was 12, 13. I would say about 12. Because I remember being at primary school still. Maybe earlier than that then. Yeah. I remember my last year
Well, I
at
was
primary
11.
school. So maybe earlier. Till about 18. And then I got to a point where, and this is what all happened when I was moved to London actually. I got to a point where I was like, right, if this is what magic is about and witchcraft, like I don't think I want to do it no more. Like it's not feeding what I feel inside and what my spirit and what I always thought what witches were in the past, and seeing things and seeing through the things in the book. And by this time, I don't think I even went. I'd never been to the Museum of Witchcraft at this point. I've been like 3 times now, but I was like, I was at the point where I was just going to give it up. And then I started working with Hecate. And she was in my life for a brief moment, and I do believe she was the one that sort of shifted me into the traditional witchcraft side, because I remember thinking, fuck it, like I'm in Central Town, I'll visit Treadwell's and see what it's about. And I remember seeing like this small, oh, it's probably a massive section now. Well, it is, we've been, but back then it was like a small section that said traditional witchcraft, and it would have been stuff like with Cochrane.
Or they put like non-Wiccan witchcraft.
Yeah, like it wasn't very as popular as it was today. And also I was part of like a forum online that you had to like, the way you had to like submit a 200 word sort of essay of why you want to get into traditional witchcraft, blah, 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 and there was like a forum based online. It's shut now, it's completely shut down. But that was going to a Treadwell's and seeing these books and sort of reading through them. I was like, this is the kind of magic and witchcraft that I've always resonated with it. So it brought back out hope for me again. So I started reading books on traditional witchcraft, stuff like Tread of the Mill by Nigel
Pearson.
Pennick, and a Modern Grimoire. My memory's terrible.
Grimoire for Modern Common Folk by Peter Paddon.
Yeah, you're brilliant with names. And stuff like that, and just real basics on traditional witchcraft, and obviously having the Nigel Jackson books as well.
Classics.
Oh, I actually sold them recently. It's hard, but yeah, like I don't resonate with that, which I'll go on to it now. Yeah. So for a while, so it was London really. When I was living in London, I met some cool folks that were into traditional witchcraft, and we used to go on Hampstead Heath, and we used to do rituals and stuff like that. And then it wasn't until I came back to Birmingham, like I say, 2.5 years later, I was still like very into traditional witchcraft, and this was the time.
How old? Sure.
I was. Well, it was probably when I started when I first met you.
Right. So we've got up to this point. Let me get to your point, and then you'll go from that point.
So that was about 9 years ago.
Okay, so
I was full force into traditional witchcraft then.
So you're up until about 25? No, less than that. 23?
24.
I'm like,
bitch, I'm older than you, I know.
I'm like 48. So we So I actually had a moment when I was practicing Haitian voodoo that I did not feel fulfilled. There were some insane things that happened during Reglement, like service. There were some insane things that if I spoke about, you would probably cart me off to a hole in a white jacket. But there are things that I saw that I can't unsee, and that very much solidified my idea in spirits. What I loved about voodoo was the idea of spirits. That's overall what really drew me. Yeah. The idea of ancestral working, the idea of working with spirits.
Yeah.
However, I knew that my relationship with the Loire, the spirits in voodoo, and can I just add as well, even when I was practicing hoodoo, I still called myself a witch.
Yeah.
Which in actual hoodoo, traditional sense of hoodoo,
they say you're a root worker.
You say you're a root worker. There are things actually against witches in hoodoo.
Yeah.
So I actually found that, it was something that I was really struggling with. And I actually remember talking to my ancestors and saying, look, I know voodoo isn't for me as a religion. I was due to get baptized as a Catholic. I'm half Jewish. I've never been baptized. I always had I didn't want to be baptized as a Catholic. I didn't because I'm not Catholic, and
I'm the only one that did get baptized. That my mum was like, by that time she just gave up on Catholicism. I don't know why. She was thinking about smoking. So,
but yeah, like I actually remember talking to my ancestors, and I'm not going to go into it too much, but I was told by an ancestor to look into traditional witchcraft. It was really weird. It was like, look into traditional witchcraft. And one of the first things I started looking at was The Witch of Forest Grove Sarah Lawless's
Oh
blog.
yes,
And I
yes, I
love
used to
that.
love that.
I
Like
love
reading
that.
the
And I
stuff.
remember like printing stuff off in a theatre that I used to work at part time, which was also my old ballet school. Um, but we won't go into that. That is a whole ballet
Yeah.
school is a traumatic story, by the way. Bordering on abuse, but don't worry about it.
All these
Um,
institutions are.
fucked. Traditional ballet training. Ugh, still have nightmares about it. But I actually started practicing traditional witchcraft and I actually felt like I'd come home. I actually was like, yes, like this is speaking about spirits. This is speaking about working with spirits.
Mhm.
This is speaking about ancestral veneration, ancestral worship. This is talking about working magic, operative folk magic. And I was like, I fucking love this. And it drew comparisons, it wasn't just that. I read Masks of Misrule, I read,
Yep. Hornpiper.
Hornpiper, there you are. See, you're good at remembering books, Dad, so don't worry about it.
Well, it's just the names.
But yeah, I actually just read and read and read as much as I could. And I actually realised through one of the blog posts of Sarah Lawless
Yeah, I used to
that
love that.
there's a thing in it to call Nick
It's-
Nevin and dedicate yourself to it, which
Mhm,
was the
yeah.
Orkney Witch's Charm,
Yeah.
which isn't, we know it's not necessarily Nick Nevin because it just addresses.
Oh, the more cool black.
Yeah.
One.
So, I actually realised that there's the witch's reel, and I realised that when I first got into witchcraft, I'd done a dedication rite to Nick Nevin.
Yeah.
When I first started practicing witchcraft, I was like, holy fuck. And for me, it was just really refreshing. And that's when we actually met over
We was
Facebook.
over a group called Witchblood. And I'm not going to go into names.
No.
But there was this person.
And Witchblood is a good group, can
Yeah.
we just say? Like,
Yeah,
I like
brilliant.
Witchblood.
And there was this person that was really rubbing it. Well, they were rubbing a lot of people up
I
the
think you
wrong
just
way.
gave that away.
Yeah. Oh, she's a she, right? It's just that. I'm not going to mention her names.
She's horrible.
Yeah.
She was horrible.
And she still is a wee troll to this day.
Yeah.
And she was rubbing up a lot of people the wrong way. And I was just like, I'm sick of this. Like, this is not healthy for people who are new and wanted to get into this stuff. And she was really like,
Attacking.
yeah, pushing down. So I decided to say that I hate cloak and dagger shirt. And if you want to be like that, wrap the cloak around your head and shove your dagger up your arse. Which I got a warning, but they know that that I'm not usually. It's out of my character to be like that.
Is
But if
it?
someone pushed me if you push me up the wrong way, bitch, you'll get.
Whoa! You got an
But
Aries moon.
yeah. But then we started talking that because I remember you messaged me again.
Yeah.
I am in stitches, la la la,
Yeah.
and then we started speaking
Yeah.
a while, and then I just came up to
Manchester.
well, yeah, you were like, "What are you doing this weekend?" It was literally like that. I was like, "Well, nothing planned really."
Come on.
Come up. So I came up, met you and your partner
At the time.
Yeah, your partner at the time, and it was just we just clicked, didn't we? Like,
Yeah.
Not just because of witchcraft, because we're just as a friend
Yeah.
basis, we just clicked.
We going from that point, I actually found with traditional
That was about
witchcraft.
8-9 years ago now.
Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
See, going from that point, I actually found that my practice started to get a lot more folky and a lot more folk orientated.
So
And actually, one of the books that really, for me, started bringing into the element of it of operative folk magic, because I found with a lot of traditional witchcraft books at that time, I think it's changed now, definitely, but at that time it was how to lay a compass round, how to tread the mill, how to do this. It was all very ritualized, which is fine, which is absolutely fine, but I felt like I needed something more still. I needed more nourishment, I needed more. I was like, okay, so I'm practicing traditional witchcraft, but I know how to do all these ritualized things, but where is the actual operative folk magic? The folk magic that witches are notorious for, the folk magic that, and I actually found one of the books that really sparked my interest was Traditional Witchcraft, A Cornish Book of Ways by Gemma Gary, and I started to look into that. And I started to get interested. I started to think, where are these pieces of folk magic from? Like, what parts of these pieces, folk magic is it from? And there was references of older books, and that's when I started to really
Yeah.
dig deeper. I didn't. I basically knocked modern traditional witchcraft books on the head,
I
even
think
though
I've got to admit, Kujo Magari has been quite a turning point within
absolutely.
traditional witchcraft,
Yeah, but
and
I found that for me, one of the things I started to go a lot deeper. I
mhm,
started to look into more older pieces of literature. That wasn't to say that I dismissed traditional witchcraft,
mm,
because for me, I would say I am also a traditional witch, but I would also say I'm a folk magician. I started looking into British folk magic. I
mhm.
started looking into cunning folk. I started looking
Oh,
into English leechcraft. I started looking into other traditions that were very similar, like Dutch Pennsylvanian powwow
yeah,
or Brucari. Um, I really started to
or
look
appellation.
yeah, I really started to look into that element of it a lot more. And also, can I add, throughout this whole time, I was still practicing hoodoo and I still practice hoodoo.
Yeah.
But I started to look more into the British folk magic side of it. Things like curing warts, things like diminishing, spots, things like charming arthritis, things like, older forms of
Oh,
love magic. And then because traditional witchcraft is so land focused, I started to look into that the witchcraft of Lancashire, which Lancashire is very, very rich and deep in witch lore. There are a lot of spells and charms that come from the
yeah.
northwest of England. And
Well, Pendle witches, you know.
absolutely, and I started to look into that element
Which
of
Good
things.
Friday's coming up, guys. Good Friday.
Yeah, we done a Good Friday
We do it
charm. We
quite a
done,
lot.
yeah. But that's for me was the turning
Mm,
point. I found that very much so. I started to look more into operative folk
yeah.
magic, into plants, and I really, really explored that.
Right.
Sorry, I'm
So
speaking.
for me, I got to a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm loving the operative side, the folklore, the folk magic side of things, and that animistic sort of viewing the land and working with the land and spirits. But I went veered off from traditional witchcraft, so I don't no longer sort of in that current, and I don't really term myself as witch. Like, I don't mind if I'm called witch, and every so often I do slip a tongue and say oh, witch. But
That's
me,
my
it's
fault.
yeah, being with this bitch
This
again,
witch bitch.
this witch bitch. But yeah, mostly it's a folk magician or a folk magic practitioner that I prefer, and I'm an animist. So I veered away from paganism. I veered away from traditional witchcraft, and I've always been resonated with the folk traditions of Scotland and the culture belong specifically in like Gaelic culture. So I sort of went down that route. So I started reading books by the Silver Bow by Marion McNeil, reading Witchcraft and Second Sight
Good book.
by
I've got it in there as
John
well.
something Campbell. Again, I'm shit with names. Like you could tell me a name and I'll forget it like
He
20
does it
seconds
to me.
later.
We've known each other 9 years.
Yeah, I'm like, John?
I
Seamus? Shorus?
could say Saoirse. Is that
Yeah, or
Saoirse?
Shorus is,
Shorus is in Gaelic and
yeah,
Saoirse's in Irish
yeah,
Gaelic.
yeah. So I started going down that route and then reading stuff about myths and legends, and heavily going down sort of the Gaelic Scottish route of things and seeing how that culture, again, specifically within Gaelic culture, of how they view the land, both within the language and the culture, and that just resonates. It's something that's always.
Just gonna pause it because I need to get the charger.
Oh, okay, what's that?
Oh,
And
we're
we're back in
back.
the room. Sorry.
Ah!
It was going to die.
It was like, I was like, no.
We're back in the room. So yeah, so that always resonated with me. Like, I think it's because within my own family roots, my mum's side, it's my grand's from Ireland, Kilkenny, and although it's predominantly Catholic, like there's that sense of community, about hospitality and having awareness, whether it be the saints or spirits of your house. And there's a very much of awareness of like you're living in a world that are non-human as well, or are not living. So when I was looking into Gallic culture, like there's something that resonates that with me, and then later I've learned Gallic twice now, once at college, now second at uni, which I'm still working on to being fluent.
Even when you practice traditional witchcraft, you would say Scottish traditional witchcraft and you'd look at like witchcraft folklore in Scotland.
Well, the thing is as well, it's like, and I think the main turning point for me in the way I think is like Owen Davies, Popular Magic,
Jim Baker,
Jim Baker,
Handbook, that proper turn you. It's a good book.
Ronald Hutton, Stations on the Moon, not Stations on the Moon, Triumph of the Moon. And these, and being at uni as well, so it's changed my mindset and how I see witches and cunning folk and modern practitioners. So but then I like the term that you say, like, as much as I know the terminology between historical witchcraft, modern witchcraft, like I like how you view, if you were doing malevolent magic, you are being the witch.
Yeah, and also
that is the witch, is not to be malevolent.
I mean, one of the things I kind of want to add as well for me is that I actually also, one of the things that really drew me was the fact that in a lot of sort of older aspects of British folk magic, there was very much this merge between almost like animism and Catholicism, and hoodoo being very Catholic. I was always very used to reciting psalms when I'd done spells. I was always very used to working with saints, and that wasn't something that was unchanged in British folk magic. That was something that really, really drew me.
I think
because
it
was a magical practice I was very much used to. And I actually started to incorporate Catholicism into my practice, even though I am not a baptized Catholic. I've taken communion, but don't worry about that.
For our own reasons, not for Jesus Christ.
But I didn't say where I put the communion. That sounds dodgy, actually. But the point is, for me, I started to look at the comparisons between Catholicism, working with the saints, working with psalms, Bible quotes. There are so many records of people that would have called themselves white witches in particularly like 1910, like late 1800s. And they would have very much used Bible quotes. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go deeper. I wanted to go older. And I wanted to style my magic that I was practicing into something that was historically accurate. But also something that worked for me. Because just because something's historically accurate doesn't mean it's going to work for you, because there's a lot of fucked up shit that's happened in history.
We talk about this all the time. Like, in order for folk magic to survive, it has to move through the time.
Yeah, it has to go with
it has to move within our humanity. Like, that's
absolutely
how it lives. Like, but yeah, like the same, I think with Catholicism, like, I think being brought up in that way, like, Catholicism is quite a magical religion, although there has some fucked up things that happen. And that's why I don't go to church, and that's why I don't call myself a Catholic, but I do Catholic rites. But yeah, like, it's that idea that you have, like, Protestantism is like, you're not supposed to have altars at home, you're not supposed to have your focus on saint worship or veneration or ancestor veneration. It's all purely on Jesus Christ, and the only time you should do that is when you're in the church. Whereas like Catholicism, it's like you bring it home with you, and so you become into this culture where you use certain psalms for this or certain prayers for this, and you're not at church or you're not doing a vigil, like you're doing it at home. You're praying to your patron saints, you're praying to a certain saint of something, and you're asking for it to happen. And you're even giving offerings like of bread and water. Like, Catholicism is quite a magical religion, whether they want to admit it or not. It is very magical. It is. And so being in that like environment, I sort of, because this is another thing. So for a long time, when I was into just like paganism and witchcraft, I had a problem with Catholicism and Christian religions within myself. And I was sort of battling with them demons because I knew deep down I still believed in the saints and I still believed in God. But then you know, being that, oh, the burning times, the fuckers, like this,
Hmm.
this, and that. And that's when I met St. Bridget, and created a relationship with her. She taught me that it's okay to be two-headed. Like, it's
Yeah,
okay to be dual because she is the representation of that. She is her myths go through older roots, through newer roots,
yeah.
like, and now even more newer now into neo-paganism. Like, she's like, bitch, I don't care. Like, what you think, I am the woman that does this,
Yeah,
and I am the woman that is the all-helping woman. I will help you in time of need. If you want to see me as this, that's fine. If you want to see me as that, that's fine.
yeah.
Just see me who I am. And that's pretty much what I am like. I'm
That's an
like, well,
interesting point.
I am whatever you want to see me or call me, that's fine. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily what I would call myself. But I've got to a stage now that within my practice, I don't know how I could term what I do.
I would
I'm like, I
definitely
do this, do that, and I do this and do that.
I
I'm
would
not eclectic, but
I
I'm
would
just
definitely like what I will say is
folk magic.
I would after all that you're like folk magic.
Folk magic.
It's an interesting point because now if people would ask me my religion, on consensus, I just put paganism. The
Yeah.
other day I put paganism / witchcraft. I thought, fuck it. Um, but I actually would say that now I am dual faithed.
Yeah.
I definitely believe in the old pagan gods, 110%. I definitely believe in God,
Yeah.
as in Yahweh or Jehovah, but not in the sort of Jehovah Witness fucking no, no,
Yeah.
don't give blood.
No.
Fuck that shit. I definitely believe in science, so don't worry about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But
Me too.
I'm definitely dual faith, so I believe in the saints, I believe in God,
Yeah.
I believe in Jesus, I believe in the Holy Spirit, I believe in the Virgin Mary. I actually work with Our Lady of Grace.
Yeah.
I work with St. Bridget, I work with different saints, St. Michael, but I also believe in the old pagan gods.
Yeah.
I work with Manan MacLear, I work sometimes with Hecate just comes in when something shit needs changing for me, and then
No.
we was
She's
talking
always been
about
very
this.
brief.
Yeah,
She's like, right, this is done. Bye, see
yeah.
ya.
But
I'll take
then,
my friends on the way out.
but then at the same time, I'll work with um, the old goat god. I'll work
Yeah.
with, there is that element. I'll work with the horned one.
Yeah.
There is that element there of Christianity, paganism, and the fairy faith. There
Yeah.
really is that mix with me. So I would say I'm dual faith. Um,
But with me, I would say I've got to the point where I'm not religious no more, and that I would more say I'm an animist.
yeah,
That's it. And in that fits with me in the fact that I'm an animist, that I just honor the spirits of the place. So
yeah,
whether they be Christian, Muslim, pagan, whatever, like I'm honoring them for who they are and what they are.
yeah,
And creating a relationship like we do with people. Like, we befriend people and we accept and embrace their culture, their language, their whole being. They come as a package, and that's how I see spirits. Like,
yeah.
they come with a package. So, like, if to get their attention and to work with them, I'm going to work them through the route that they know how. Like,
I would definitely say I would still say I'm a witch. I can't help it. I actually find a lot. For me, I find a lot of power
oh,
in the word witch. The word
yeah.
witch, I find it a very powerful word.
Oh, it's reclaimed,
But
isn't it?
also, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a reclaimed word because at the same time, I
Oh,
acknowledge that it's a reclaimed word. It's
oh,
almost like my mate Seth put it on and said it's like reclaiming the word big bad wolf. The
yeah.
big bad wolf hasn't always had positive connotations with
No.
it. Like at one point, the word witch meant someone that literally took their skin off, flew through the air, and ate children,
Yep.
which as Saturday night aside,
Like my gran, will fucking hit you if you called her a witch. Like that is to her that was a nasty thing to call someone.
You know, and the term witch has changed dramatically when you know you look at like 1500s to the 17th century. The word witch would have meant someone that worshipped Satan, that ate children, whereas you look at early 18th, late 18th century to early 1900s, that started to mean something very different. There were terms like white witch that came out, wayside witch, village witch. The term itself has changed. Of course, there is that original meaning there.
And I think it's organically changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just one day like, right, we're going to just do it.
No, it's progressive.
I understand that. Like, I just... With me, like I embrace when people when you reclaim anything, that's great. Like because then you're taking the power back from the people that prosecute you, the persecutors. And I think,
although I still don't like the word queer.
No,
I can't get behind it, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, that's a different and I'm the same. But this is why I think things should happen organically, and like words have been reclaimed organically.
I would definitely say
it takes like the word witches took many a decade to change its way of thinking. It's not something that happened overnight. But however, like for me, I don't turn myself out. You could call me a witch. I don't mind. I'm not going to pull you up on it. I don't call myself cunning folk neither, because again, that is a total different culture. That is died out. Yeah, well, it's died out really. Like, we are still now. Which is great as practitioners, we are working with our community and we are doing things like that again. But that
we do spells that are similar to cunning folk, just in a more modern context. But it isn't word for word what cunning folk did.
But like the word witch now today, like there is no surviving tradition of cunning folk no more. That died out in the Second World War, and then spiritualism takes its approach with Ouija boards.
Which is, and I forgot to mention, that's what I grew up with. I grew up with spiritualism. Yeah, my mum's a clairvoyant and a medium. Fuck,
why did people called you last time and the name was that? They're like, and you didn't mention your mum, the most well-known medium, and you're like...
I know, I was fuming. I was like,
she is an amazing medium. She's so talented.
Oh, she's a good egg. I love my mom. But one of for me, if someone was like, how would you term yourself? I'm very much the same. I love the word witch. I use the word witch because it's just easier for me. It is easier, but I would say I am a witch or a folk magician or a practical folk magician. I even loved the book, one of your books, Defense Against
the Witches Are.
He called himself an English root magician, and I loved that. But overall,
brilliant book, by the way.
Really good book.
Really basic sort of defensive magic.
Overall, I would say I am a witch first, or I am a folk magician first. That's what I will say. I like that delineation. Like for me, the way I see things, when I do things for healing, I'm an animist as well, definitely 110%. But like when I do things for healing, I will take the role of British folk magic now, because
the magician.
Yeah, I will take the role as
the wise man. I think you could say wise man.
Yeah, but I would, at that point, I will be the white witch or the folk magician. I will go down the route of British folk magic, and you could say white magic. That's a very varied thing, but you could say I would take the point of the white witch, so to speak. But when I go down the other route, when certain things arise that someone needs binding or someone needs
fucked up,
I will take the route of witchcraft or the black witch or whatever you want to say.
The Muckle Black Wallower.
In hoodoo they call it a two-handed doctor, and I love that. Like a two-handed person, one person that
or two-headed I've heard as well.
Doctor as well. One person that can harm and the same person that can heal.
And it is that old saying, like, in order to heal, you must know how to cut.
Yeah.
To cure,
you've got to know a disease.
You need to know how to destroy
Yeah.
that
You
balance.
can't heal something without knowing the disease.
Yeah.
You can't cause a disease without knowing how to heal it.
Yeah.
It goes hand in
It
hand.
really does.
Yeah.
Two hands.
Two heads. But yeah, so for me, that's how I would describe myself up until this point. I worked very much with spirits. I work with familiar spirits, which we need to talk about.
Oh,
Let's do.
we almost forgot.
Are we finished chatting about
Yeah.
this? Yeah, I mean, we're
we've
going
bored you all
on.
now.
It's nearly an hour back. They're going to be dead watching this. They're gonna be like, Christ. When we paused it, I bet there was like, yeah, that's a fucking good point. We
Little break.
Yeah, little water break. But our workshop in regards to working with the dead and working with the ancestors went very, very well.
Thank you all for
Thank you. It was so much fun. So much fun.
I really enjoyed it. Like
I love
stuff
it.
that we love doing, isn't it?
Yeah. So because of that, we are doing another. We are doing another workshop, which is working with familiar spirits. And this is
spirit ally.
A topic that is very close to both our hearts. It's a topic that's very integral to my practice.
And when we say familiar spirits, we gotta stress, we use it as an umbrella term. So it can be the familiar, it can be your fairy husbandry, or it can be a spiritual mentor.
Yeah.
So
a spirit that is familiar to you.
Yeah.
I kind of also want to stress that it's not necessarily about pets.
No.
It's more about spirits.
And I think it's all right. It's nice as a cute little term.
Yeah.
You know, that a living animal can be your familiar. And like it can.
Yeah, absolutely.
They sense things before we can sense things. So. But we're not going to be talking. It's very different in the sense of what we're talking
very much about familiar spirits and working with them and how to acquire one if you don't have one, or how to deepen that relationship with your familiar spirit if you have one. I think we'll just do another video as well, advertising it. But we just wanted to put that at the end of it, and we'll put the link down below for that workshop. It's on the 7th at 7 o'clock.
It's a Sunday.
Great Britain time.
And it will be 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
I'm getting good at this.
2 o'clock in the afternoon, in the day, Eastern Standard.
That stuff just goes right over my head. You're dyslexic. I'm dyscalculate with numbers.
It's perfect.
And together, we fuck it up twice as much. But yeah, so I just wanted to let you guys know that. But that's it, isn't it? That's it.
And I hope to see you guys on the next workshop. For now, over and out. Love and blessings.
Peace.
Peace.